Your words can either build up your spouse or break them down.
You know what, Paul? Whatever you do, silence is always the loudest voice. If you're not speaking life into your wife, if you're not building her up, giving her what she needs, then you're probably leaving a lot of space for doubt.
Silence and negative feedback, or like sometimes we refer to them as jabs. Like you're kind of taking like that
Mhm.
little jab at each other of like the negative thing or the, I don't know, just the unnecessary comments about stuff. Like I'm reading a lot of leadership stuff. I mean, I always have, but I read this yesterday.
Yeah.
Power of Positive Leadership. John Gordon talks about the culture that you bring as a leader to whatever team you're a part of. Like that sets everything. You can say you want it. You can say all these things about doing it, but unless you're actually physically driving it like yourself, because if you don't believe in what you're talking about, it's not going to happen. So then
Oh,
I
for
started
sure.
thinking about differently with marriage. Why is it any different than marriage? Why do we try to be better leaders at work or coaches or whatever we do, but not do the same as our marriage? Because it's all the same stuff. If we're not speaking life into our partner, if we're not believing in our partner, if we're not talking them up, then we're not driving that culture of our marriage either.
Having said that, it's almost like if we're working on all these other things, what matters the most besides your relationship with God? It's your relationship with your spouse. So, like you said, if we're not doing that and we're working on all these other areas, what's the point? You're going to be with your spouse, hopefully, till you take your last breath or she takes her last breath. So that's what really matters. How about passive aggressive? Do you ever get called out for that? Because I know I do on occasion. And every time she says something about being a little passive aggressive, and that's definitely not building her up, but kind of tearing her down in a backhanded way, not direct. Yeah, I know that's hurtful, and I do much better at it than I used to be, but catch myself, or I should say I get called out when I am passive aggressive.
That reminds me back to those jabs, man, because it's that unnecessary thing. Like we have to have that last word, so we'll say something like that, or we'll say something under our breath, and it's like, what's the point, man? You knew. So in our minds, we're like, we're gonna say it this way because it's not as hurtful, but it still is. It still pulls you away from each other. So it's the silence is not great either. But sometimes those things are better left unsaid until you can check yourself, until you can say it in a way that actually helps you guys throughout the conversation, opposed to getting that last word in of the passive aggressiveness. Because like we talked about last week, sometimes you can feel like you won that argument, but you didn't actually win. You lost the argument, you lost connection, and you're gonna have to now repair and rebuild. So it's like, why continue to do that when we know exactly where it's gonna lead us?
Like you said, Paul, marriage just gets heavy when we stop saying the things that matter to them. It's so easy to get busy and distracted and tired, and then we just completely forget to say, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm proud of how you handled that. And I don't do that nearly often enough. And when we don't say those words, I know my Bobby, she can feel unseen. And when we do notice and appreciate them, it's completely different. It just makes for such a much better marriage.
Yeah, and that reminds me too, man. You're speaking with honor. So it's like when we're speaking with honor with our spouse, what is that replacing? First of all, it's
Mm.
replacing what we may have said differently before, but it's also building them up in a way too. So it's like maybe speaking with honor or finding that way to speak with honor, like we talked about through the gratitude thing. Find one thing each day that you could be grateful for, but also in conversation, find a way to honor them and speak gratitude to them opposed to criticizing them or being sarcastic. The more we plug those things in, the less of the other things we're doing. And anytime you can remove those critiques or sarcasm from your conversation in marriage, it's only going to help you. It's only going to improve the situation and bring you guys closer together.
Brotherhood Forged is built for one reason. Men aren't meant to do life alone. Inside our community, you'll get coaching, accountability, and real-life connection with other men chasing their 2.0 version of themselves. There's no upsells. There's no fake hype. Just brothers sharpening brothers. Click the link in the show notes and step on in. You caught me on one thing there. You talked about sarcasm. I am super sarcastic. I don't mean anything by it, but it does impact my wife sometimes, and she doesn't like it. Yet I continue to do it. But here recently, I felt really convicted about my sarcasm, not just towards her, but towards other people. So that can be hurtful, even though we mean nothing by it. And my intentions are not ill when I use sarcasm. My mom was really sarcastic, but then I think back and she did hurt people with hers. And I think I hurt people with mine as well. If I'm hurting my wife with my sarcasm, yeah, 33 years later, but I'm finally owning that I need to do better. I think it's that simple. So that was really a good reminder that I needed to hear.
Sarcasm is a sneaky one, man. I think it's one of those jabs. It just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going until eventually they're like, "Listen, I'm sick of you hitting me with this thing." So it's like a boxing match. So that and criticism. The criticism is another one, and
Oh,
assumptions, that's another one.
yeah.
So if you can speak honor over sarcasm, affirmations over assumptions, and praise over critique. Those are three things that I think of that can be the heavier jabs. If you can replace them with those things, or at least replacing your mindset to flip it that way,
Mm-hmm.
that can certainly increase the connection and get you guys back on that same page that we talk about quite often.
Did you just come up with that on the top of your head? I'm trying to find it. Where is that?
It's not in the notes.
Dude,
I
that was good.
so I was going through different things on my phone and I'm like, what are the things that we do the worst of? And I'm
Well,
like,
you're
here they are. So let's try to figure out how to flip those. So I'm like, how, because you saw me catch myself. I'm like,
yeah.
so I'm like, here we go. But that's what works for me. If I think of something I don't do, how can I replace it? What's a way to flip it around so it's like the same thing? Praise or honor over assumption. So if I'm speaking honor to her, I'm not assuming the worst. I'm trying to find the best.
That's powerful. Yeah, you're coming up with an alternative. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to do that. I really am gonna make an effort to do that. And if we're going, I'm gonna go back to sarcasm. On occasion, that sarcasm for me, if I'm honest, and I'm trying to always be honest, is passive aggressive. Sometimes I actually, not just towards Bobby, but in general, I'll say something sarcastic because I kind of really mean it, but I make it funny, but I'm really being a jerk. It's not something I would probably normally admit, but I even admitted it to her the other day. I'm like, yeah, I need to do better. So that's a great reminder. I mean, sometimes you'll say things on here and I need to hear them as much as our listeners need to hear them, I'm sure. So thanks for that. Replacing that negative with the positive. It's really good.
Like you said, this stuff we have to hear too. This is stuff that I have to remind myself of as well. There's different things that you say I'm getting better at, and so you get tested at it. So it's like then you really have to see, hey, did I actually put in the work in? Because in real life moments when this happens, I need to be able to do it too. So constant reminder to both of us, I'm not the greatest at it. I'm still working on it. Like I said, these are tools that I've tried to help myself with. So they throw them out here to help us with. But that's a big one, man. For me, it's that mental switch of like catching myself in the moment. If Amber says something and we're in a conversation that leads me to feel a certain way, how do I replace this knee-jerk reaction with the response that I actually want to have? Because we all know where the knee-jerk reaction is going to go. It's going to put us in the doghouse. We're going to feel like crap. We're going to feel like we let them down. We're going to feel disconnected. So if I can replace that knee-jerk reaction with the response that I want to have, it's going to get us in the right direction. Easier said than done. Always not perfect, but if you can get better at it each time, you're going to get closer and closer. And you can even share this with them too. The caveat is if you share this and tell them what you're trying to do and you don't do it, you're going to get hammered for that and they're going to call you out. But you have to be willing to accept that if you're trying to grow in the right direction.
Yeah. Some practical tips, I think. I mean, everything you said is pretty amazing. But here are 3 ways I think you can live this out. If you catch her doing something good, acknowledge it, name it. So often they'll do something and we just take it for granted. I know I'm really bad about that. And be really specific, not generalities. The more detailed, the more powerful. And you don't have to wait for a big moment. Maybe it is she just did the dishes or she cooked a small meal or threw a pizza in the oven. Doesn't have to be huge. Reminding her that you're grateful. Lifting her up even when it's something that you might deem small. It's going to go a long way.
And you're right. It can seem so small, but think about it. If you do that every single day, over time, you're back to that compound effect. And that's going to create security. That's going to create trust. That's going to create intimacy, opposed to the opposite. If you're not praising her and being grateful for the things she does, but instead being passive aggressive every single day, compound effect, wrong direction. Replace that with the gratitude, right direction.
Yeah. I think a challenge for everybody this week was whether you're guy or gal, this week, don't just think about those things. Don't just think good thoughts about them, but say them, speak life into them.
Prep yourself for the moments too. If we don't have a plan going into it, if we don't have a way that we want to respond that honors them, we're not going to. We're going to fall back to old habits. We're going to get defensive. We're going to get argumentative. We're going to start to criticize. We're going to start to assume. We're going to start to belittle them. But if you go into it saying, I know that we're potentially going to have a disagreement here. How do I
Yeah.
want to walk away from this with us being as close as possible?
Yeah. If you put the work into your marriage, it really can be amazing. Is it going to be perfect? Nope, probably never. 100% never. But it can be pretty darn good. And as we're talking about this, the Proverbs 18:21, you got to remember this. The tongue has the power of life and death. Every word carries weight. That can go for you or against you. So keep that in mind when you're communicating with your spouse. Love them, acknowledge them, lift them up. That's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all I got, man. I was waiting for you to say, be blessed, y'all.
All right. Be blessed, y'all.
See you guys.